Hey guys, Jason here to bring you another all-new top 10 list. Today, we are covering the top 10 cards of the Fire Civilization. As with all these new top 10s, we put this together by first gathering as a team to agree on the top 10 cards. We then did our own individual rankings before averaging the results. I'm pretty sure you guys know the drill by now, so that's enough intro from me. Let's jump in. But before we get into the honorable mentions, I want to say that the Fire rankings were pretty unique compared to the others because the Civ has multiple examples of cards which essentially perform the same function. This allowed us to make some apples-to-apples comparisons when deciding, which was very interesting. Anyway, for the honorable mentions, we have Mecha Dragon's Breath, Comet Missile, and Twin Cannon Sky Terror. Mecha Dragon's Breath is a board wipe of sorts, typically used as a tech thanks to its ability to reliably deal with Petrova. However, the flexibility it provides does come at a cost, as we found it to be generally less useful than some similar cards. Comet Missile is of course one of the game's most iconic rush cards, but we noticed some of the more recent rush lists and IDC events cutting down on it, which suggests to us that it may be one of the weaker blocker hate cards due to its narrower applications. Twin Cannon Sky Terror, though a fan favorite, is a card that I don't think is very strong these days, as I oftentimes feel that it doesn't do enough to justify its cost. Still, it's an all-around decent card and one that may still be able to shine under the right circumstances. Kicking things off with a bang, at number 10, we have Burstshot. Burstshot is in some ways a very important card to the game, as it was the first board wipe ever printed, and is one of the few shield trigger board wipes to exist in the TCG. The card is perhaps most famous for being a solid counter to rush decks, as they are largely reliant on attacking with weenies, though it is somewhat useful in other matchups too. Unfortunately, we feel that Burstshot has kind of fallen on tough times, owing to the increased usage of attackers outside its 2k threshold, which greatly curbs its usefulness as a blanket solution against broader aggro strategies. With all that said, I still think it's a worthwhile inclusion in some decks trying to overcome specific matchups, and for holding the unique distinction of being the most playable shield trigger board wipe in the TCG, we felt that Burstshot was still good enough to make it on the list. Coming in at number 9, we have, in our view, the premier blocker hate card with Volcanic Arrows. It was tricky comparing Volcanic Arrows, Comet Missile, and Rickaboos Screwdriver because of how similar they are in function, yet are still different enough to warrant separate entries. We ended up passing on Rickaboos Screwdriver because despite all the upside it presented, it usually ended up being the blocker hate card that we'd cut from our decks first. As for Comet Missile, it was just too narrow in its applications, and we felt that the 1 mana saving wasn't that significant. Volcanic Arrows was simply the best choice for us because we found it to be the most flexible of the three. It has an immediate effect, only costs 2 mana, and has the broadest range of targets. Its downside, while noteworthy, is mitigated by the idea that rush decks aren't particularly concerned with their shields anyway. In fact, it is a card so compelling that I have often thought about testing it outside of rush decks. But at the end of the day, it is its great contributions to rush decks, one of the game's most important playstyles, that allows Volcanic Arrows to shoot its way into the number 9 spot. Coming in at number 8, we have the blanket board wipe with the highest power threshold in the TCG with Blizzard of Spears. Given its power cap, there is a case to be made that Blizzard is the best board wipe when it comes to eliminating the greatest number of creatures at a given time. The 4k threshold is very significant, especially when compared to its peers, because it allows Blizzard to hit some very notable threats, including Gonta, Fal, Forbost, and Tajmal, and many weenies enjoying some sort of power boost. Most notably, Blizzard is practically the only board wipe that can reliably remove Petrova while also getting rid of other creatures. The downside of Blizzard is that it also hits the user's board, which narrows the strategies it can support to mostly those that are control-focused or at least are light on creatures. But given the upside it can provide, especially relative to its cost, it's really not a bad trade-off. Where Blizzard of Spears lacks in flexibility, it makes up for in raw power, which is more than enough to earn it the number 8 spot. Going from one board wipe to another, occupying the number 7 spot is one of the game's most popular board wipes in Searing Wave. This fame is well earned given the card's usefulness and flexibility. The 3k threshold is a notable one because it allows Searing Wave to hit relevant targets, including 2 mana vanilla blockers, unboosted Palo Elisis, Rumbling Terrahorn, and of course the usual weenies. Perhaps most notable is its combination of a one-sided clearing effect and its 5 mana cost, making it the cheapest board wipe in the TCG. This dynamic allows it to be used in decks from a variety of playstyles. The allure of a quick board wipe for slower decks is obvious, but faster decks benefit too thanks to the advantage generated by mass removing opposing creatures. Searing Wave admittedly has some downsides, such as its lower power cap compared to other board wipes and burning a shield when used, but when we consider that the lower cap is already reflected in its cost, and that the shield burn effect is in some ways mitigated by the card advantage gained, these become easier to look past. Searing Wave may not be the most powerful board wipe per se, but it carries with it an unmatched splash ability that has allowed it to stand the test of time, and of course a spot on our list. And to round out the bottom half of the list, at number 6, we have a card loved by control-oriented strategies with Volcano Charger. Though not the most impressive card at first glance, I eventually came to realize how impactful of a card it is due to its importance to mid-range and control decks. By compressing mana ramp and removal into a single, relatively inexpensive card, Volcano Charger has the unique ability to allow slower decks to keep up with faster opponents while also setting up for their late game. It is a sweet deal that gets even sweeter, as being a charger also comes with the benefit of being reusable with Thrashcrawler and Belix, 2 cards known to already support control-oriented strategies. Now, I will be the first to admit that the raw power level and ubiquity of Volcano Charger may not be as extreme as some other cards on this list, but what we find so special about it is how vital it is to an entire subset of decks. The boost in power level Volcano Charger provides to the likes of Water Dark Fire builds and Foul plus Belix builds is a legitimate game changer, and certainly one significant enough to land at this respectable spot. Coming in at number 5, we have the last spell on this list, and the board wipe to rule them all, with Apocalypse Vice. This is yet another one of those cards I have an interesting history with, given that I always knew the card was good, but was wary of its high cost. This view changed when we started placing more emphasis on ramp, which allowed decks to more readily utilize the card. This, combined with our metagame opening up, really allowed Vice's flexibility to shine. To me, Apocalypse Vice doubles as a board wipe and as spot removal, as the 8k power threshold is enough to deal with most threats in the format. As a board wipe, Apocalypse Vice is truly exceptional. Beyond the usual weenie removal, its ability to hit awkward numbers like 2500 and 5000 while also removing other creatures has proved extremely valuable. Its single-sided nature also makes it suitable to play in a variety of decks as long as there's enough ramp to support it. Despite the natural drawback of costing more than other cards that do similar things, Vice continues to be a card whose representation we keep wanting to increase. As it is, no other card in the TCG quite matches up to the versatility and potency Apocalypse Vice brings to the table, which in our view makes it the best fire spell in the TCG. Coming in at number 4, we have one of the most oppressive and frustrating cards to play against in the TCG with Bazagazil Dragon. Baz is a card with many applications, but I would say its most common one is locking down the opponent's board. By attacking any creature they play with under 8k power, it effectively functions as a reusable Terror Pit that can also hit Petrova. Just as relevantly, however, Baz also makes for a viable finisher, thanks to having Speed Attacker and Double Breaker. What makes Baz especially interesting to me, though, is its return to hand effect. It has the obvious downside of having to incur cost on each use, but this is actually quite manageable. I say this because 8 is a mana count that control and mid-range decks typically reach over the course of a game anyway, and Baz can technically be played for a criminal 3 mana thanks to Soul Swap. Perhaps more compellingly, returning to the hand grants Baz a soft immunity to removal, as opponents cannot hardcast spells to remove it, making it more difficult to deal with compared to other traditional boss cards. Bazagazil Dragon is truly a powerhouse of a card, and given its array of applications and sheer game-deciding potential, it is only right for it to claim one of the top spots on this list. And just making it into the top 3, we have an undisputed icon and the unofficial poster child of the TCG with Volcanic Steel Dragon. A natural fit in control and mid-range decks, Volcanic is renowned for its very powerful and exclusive ability to bypass shield triggers, the game's built-in comeback mechanic. While not the only card capable of such a feat, what sets Volcanic apart from others in this group is how it completely deprives the opponent of any sort of card advantage from their shields being broken, instead of merely avoiding the shield trigger effect, but still giving them the cards. Because of this, Volcanic is in many ways better positioned than its peers to win games by itself, making a strong argument for why it is the best finisher in the game. The obvious drawback of the card is its slowness, in terms of both cost and summoning sickness. But with the help of Soul Swap to cheat it into play, and discard to grant it safe entry, these weaknesses become easier to cover up. Since its release, Volcanic has enjoyed great popularity and competitive success, and it's easy to see why. When it comes to selecting a finisher for a deck that is both devastating and reliable, players need look no further than everyone's favorite Steel Dragon. Going from one end of the spectrum to another, claiming the runner-up spot on our list is the incomparable Deadly Fighter Braidclaw. It may not be the strongest in terms of raw stats, or the most splashable, but Braidclaw is certainly a card that has made a profound impact on the game. Its very existence allows an entire subgenre of rush decks to exist, and these decks are among the TCG's most successful. Fire Water, and especially Fire Nature Rush, boast some seriously impressive IDC results, and while Fire Light Rush hasn't enjoyed that same level of success, it has earned its fair share of accolades in early OCG and DMP formats, which are comparable to the TCG. On paper, a 1k creature with an exploitable effect should not be a difficult card to answer, and this is technically true, but in practice, the threat of steamrolling opponents through sheer speed and consistency, combined with the difficulty of trying to hate rush out of diversifying and evolving metagames, have allowed Braidclaw decks to stay strong. Given its laundry list of accomplishments and its ability to strike fear the moment it is deployed on turn 1, Deadly Fighter Braidclaw is proof that bigger isn't always better in the wonderful world of Duel Masters. Coming in at number 1, we have the card which to me best captures the essence of the Fire civilization with the DM TCG's Swiss Army knife, Pyro Fighter Magnus. Although Pyro has always been recognized as a good card, I often wonder if people fully appreciate just how good it really is. As a card with the ability to fit into decks across the entire playstyle spectrum, I'm prepared to go on record saying that Pyro is the single most versatile card the Fire Civ has to offer. As the cheapest speed attacker in the game, which also has the benefit of trading with Juliana, it is a go-to inclusion for any rush deck featuring fire. On top of this, Pyro can also be played in non-rush aggro builds, such as Water Fire Nature, thanks to its speed, relative strength, and overall annoying effect. To top it off, Pyro finds a home in slower decks too, thanks to its many uses like policing the field, serving as a late-game clutch attacker, and forming a win condition alongside Miraculous Meltdown. Now all this isn't to say that Pyro is a perfect card, but given how many of the Fire Civ's best cards earn their reputation by serving a concentrated area on the playstyle spectrum, I gotta say that there is something truly special about a card which manages to serve all. A fantastic card at face value with a multitude of applications underneath, Pyrofighter Magnus to me is the perfect embodiment of the Civ and is the most fitting card to top off our list. And that's our list. But aside from seeing the final Gauntlet list, I think you guys might also get a kick out of seeing our individual rankings. Unlike with the previous top 10s where I thought I had a feel on how the rankings would turn out, this is one I honestly could not predict. It was tricky because the Fire Civ has many cards that are similar in function, while also being all over the place in terms of the kind of deck supported. As a fun fact, this is also the only list where all three of us voted for a different card for the number 1 spot. You'll notice that there were a couple of ties here, and because I didn't feel too strongly about one pick over another, I allowed the deciding factor to be the frequency in which one card was ranked over the other. Without having known what to expect, I have to say that I am very happy with our final rankings. Anyway, let us know your thoughts and feel free to share your own top 10s in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you in the next one.